Tonight on J-Ray's Kitchen, we're going to make deer and vegetable stew. Check that out. Let's get started. Some of the ingredients we're going to use: celery, corn, taters, that's a big one. We're also going to use canned green beans from the garden from 2019. And some frozen okra that I vacuum sealed and froze from a couple years ago. Also got some tomatoes that I canned. I'm going to use those too. And I'm going to use these honey carrots that I picked up at the store. I wanted to kind of go with a sweet carrot. I really like those that you can get with a Japanese style stir fry. Now they're not exactly healthy. Fresh would be better, but I'm going to go with this. You choose what you want to use for yours. And last but not least, deer stew from a deer I killed earlier this fall. This is all stew meat. We'll chop it up a little bit more to make sure everything's nice and bite-sized, but this is going to make it great. And it wouldn't be a good old episode of J-Ray's Kitchen without a little bit of chopping action. You know how we do. Chop. Terrific. I really do know how to chop. Scoot all this over to the side. Now we're going to take all that corn right off the cob. You know how we do. Decob. I don't know how I do it. Slide that on over. And you know what's next? The tater. I'm just gonna look at it, because we gotta peel it and chop it. Ready? Peel chop. Wow, that's amazing. And I almost forgot one of the most important ingredients you gotta have in just about any kind of food. Onion. Sweet Vidalia onion. Let's chop that. Ready? Chop! Wonderful. Now, that's 2 small onions. Those aren't big. Don't think I'm going overboard with the onion. Alright, so now we've got our deer stew meat. And a lot of this is just shoulder and shank that we're taking, and we've cut it up, cut it off the bone. Some of it's a little bit big, so we're going to take and cut that up a little bit smaller. We want it to be bite size. No magic in this. We're just going to go in and find those pieces, trim them down. If it's got a lot of that silver skin on there, we'll try to take that off if we can. A little bit's not going to hurt it though. Alright, all the stew meat's chopped up nice and small. Next thing I'm going to do is add some mozzarella steak seasoning into this. I've been digging this stuff lately. Coat it really good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix it up and sear that in the pan, and then we're going to throw it in our pot. Alright, so I got my pan. I'm going to get it up to kind of medium-high heat. Throw some butter in there. Alright, pan's heated up. Got our butter all melted down. Let's go in with our meat. We're just going to sear it. We're not going to cook it. Alright, so I want to go in here and just kind of work it around. Like I say, just a sear. Nothing more than a little bit of browning and darkening of the meat. Alright, when everything looks pretty well browned up like this, It's still okay if you see plenty of raw in there, but everything's pretty well browned. We're just going to take and put it in our big pot. Slide our big pot into place and dump everything off in the pan. To this pot, I'm going to add about 3, maybe 4 cups of water. I like using bottled water. That's just me. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this pot on up to boiling. We'll add our frozen okra, because it needs to start thawing out pretty soon. Add our jar of green beans. Add our jar of tomato sauce. All that is stewed cooked tomatoes. Then we're going to dump in our taters, our onions, and our celery. And our corn. Can't forget the corn. We'll throw in our honey carrots. I'm going to save about half the jar. I like those. A couple more tablespoons of butter. Boop. Now, since we've already seasoned the meat, I'm going to do about a teaspoon of salt. You know, my hand-eye coordination is just horrible. Okay, all kidding aside, start with a teaspoon of salt, and then when it's about done, you can always add more after you give it a little taste. I'm going to throw some black pepper in too. Some of you say, J-Ray, why don't you just use a bigger container and pour out a little bit? Well, it's because my arms need the workout. Now, I would make this spicy for me, but my girlfriend don't like it spicy, so I'm going to leave it plain. I'm going to get this boiling, then we're going to put a lid on it, bring it down to about medium heat, maybe even lower, and let it simmer for a while. Then we'll decide if we need to add any more water. And another ingredient I like to add in any kind of deer meat, bay leaf. Throw it in the pot, stir it in. Now, before my camera lens fogs up, I'm going to show you one more thing that you can add. Elbow macaroni. A lot of people like to put this in their soups. I'm going to throw a little bit in here because I like the way it tastes. That should be plenty enough. Remember, that stuff will spread out, and you don't want to go crazy with it. Now my lens is fogging up. Let's put a lid on it. We'll come back in a couple hours and I'll show you what we got. Alright, it's been about an hour and a half, and I think we're ready to go. Check that out. Let's give this pot a stir. Feel a little bit of stuff on the bottom sticking, so that probably means we need to go ahead and pull this off. Not a lot though. Noodles are definitely plumped up nice and big. Taters are soft, but not too soft. Looks pretty good. And there you go. One nice piping hot bowl of deer and vegetable stew. Nice and fresh and full of flavor. Let's dig in. See you next time on J-Ray's Kitchen. Since we already seasoned the meat, we're going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to do probably about a tablespoon. I'm sorry, a teaspoon.